With this short video, we'd like to introduce to you and to your organization one of the most exciting team sports for blind and visually impaired athletes. Baseball for the blind, AIBXC style, has been invented by AIBXC, Italian Association of Baseball for the Blind, that holds all the rights in all countries. How to play baseball for the blind according to AIBXC rules, Italy's Blind Baseball Association. Italy's baseball played by the blind athletes was invented in Italy in 1994 by former baseball player Alfredo Meli and a group of teammates who played for then-renowned Fortitudo Montenegro. The game follows the traditional rules of baseball, perfectly adapted for the needs of blind athletes. In the following presentation, we will show you in details how a baseball game played by the blinds is generally performed, as well as the equipment used in the game. Part of the equipment is standard in baseball, while other items like, for instance, the beeping base at first, is specific to baseball for the blind, and it is installed just prior to the official game. Having said that, it was always preferable to play the game on a regular baseball field on clay and grass. We could even prepare and adapt a normal soccer field, making sure that there are no dangers and obstacles for the blind athletes. Let us now have a close look at the equipment being used during the game. Baseball equipment used by the AIBXC. Regular-sized Kenko hard baseballs are emptied and used with 5 holes and 2 slide belts inside in order to be easily identified by fielders while they roll on the ground. Traditional baseball bats are generally used in the game, although softball bats are often preferred since they provide a larger impact area. The baseball glove helps fielder to pick up the ball and allows the players to protect themselves from hard-flying balls. Plastic or wooden pedals lined with a single felt in second base or lined with 2 felts in third base are clapped by assistants at second and third base respectively, thus producing different sounds in order to orientate blind runners towards the base they are supposed to touch. You can see here the beeping base operated with hidden klaxon, all installed below the original first base bag, temporarily removed for the game. The baseball field. What you see in the graphic clearly identifies the partial field area which is used for the game. The actual playing field covers indeed the area between second and third base, and it stretches into the outfield, well over 60 meters from home plate, where the home run line is drawn. In the graphic, you can identify the position of the assistants that during the defensive phase are 1 at second base with the glove in order to catch the throws from the defensive players, and 1 on the pitcher's mound to help to position the players while in defense, and also passes the retrieved balls to the umpires during the game. During the offensive phase, 2 assistants are positioned next to second and third base with the paddles in order to orientate runners towards the base they are finally supposed to touch. There are usually 4 umpires on the field during games. In the graphic, you can easily identify their positions while officiating. The first umpire stations near home plate, providing assistance to the batter and judging the runner's arrival at home plate coming from third base. The second umpire stations near first base and is in charge for activating the beeping base. The third umpire stations near second base and judges the batter runner's arrival at second base. The fourth umpire stations near third base and judges the runner's arrival from second. Let us now take a close look at the teams. Defensively, teams are formed by 5 blind or visually impaired blindfolded players, supported by a sighted defensive assistant who is in charge of leading the game, instructing fielders, and catching the throws made by the blind athletes. You can see in these pictures the Thunder's 5 team during a defensive phase. An umpire dressed in dark blue, a sighted assistant coach at second base, and farther on the right side, you will identify the defensive formation represented by 3 infielders and only 2 outfielders. The typical fielding formation basically contemplates a third base and a shortstop positioned exactly like in traditional baseball, while the position of the 3 outfielders completing the defensive line depends on the strategy used by the sighted assistant. However, the left fielders play in left field a few feet away off the clay area towards the left foul line. The center fielder plays at center, while the right fielder often plays next to second base. Of course, during the offensive phase, a team formed by 5 players sends 1 player in the batter's box at a time with the objective of scoring runs during its offensive frame. Each player of the batting team takes his turn going to the home plate, standing in the batter's box, holding his bat in one hand and the ball in the other. The ball is hit and driven towards the area occupied by the opposing defense. Here is the batter runner sprinting towards the beeping hidden first base, rounding first, and running towards second base, oriented by the sound of the paddles handled by the assistant. The batter runner must reach second base before the defense is able to pick up the ball and to throw it back to the sighted assistant coach at second base. The umpire makes the call safe if runner arrives before the base is tagged by the sighted assistant at second base, or out if the same assistant has touched the base before the runner's arrival. Let us now take a close look at a series of batting techniques displayed by different players. The batter in this case is bending down at 45 degrees, hits the ball and takes off towards first base. In this case, you can appreciate a strong girl She takes advantage of her high rotation in order to impress maximum power to the ball. She smashes the ball and quickly takes off. The batter here applies the classic parallel swinging style, hits the ball and reaches second base, nicely sliding into the bag. This very tall and powerful batter shows the strong swing of his bat, which allows him to easily reach second base, where he loosens his blindfold and slowly heads for home plate, having scored a run by hitting a home run. The defense. The defensive technique is usually conceived as the ability displayed by the fielders in their attempt to block the rolling balls with their bodies lying on the ground. Once the ball is stopped and blocked, the fielder will easily grasp it to make the throw back to the sighted defensive assistant, who is allowed to call 2-2 for the proper identification of second base. In the following examples, you can see a variety of common ball blocking techniques, how and when the fielder communicates to avoid collisions, how the fielder listens to the oncoming balls, and how accurate is the throw to second base. The third baseman dives, catches the ball, and makes the throw to the sighted defensive assistant. The shortstop softly kneels down, retrieves the ball, and makes the throw.
What up?
This is a powerful hit that gets by the infielders, and it finally handled and caught by the outfielder. The defensive player can hear the sound of the ball, lies down, stretches out, picks the ball up, and makes the throw to the second base coach. This is a typical example of mixed communication between two outfielders, which can lead to dangerous collisions. This is an accurate assistance made by the right fielder. Great effort by the defense. The outfielder covering the infielder makes the catch and completes the play. The shortstop does it all by himself. He catches the ball and makes the throw. This is a nice throw into the defensive coach's glove, who makes 2 steps and touches the base. The batter hits the ball, the shortstop is ready, picks the ball, and makes the out at second. This is a hard batted ball, tracked and caught by the left fielder, who makes the out at second with an accurate throw. Let's take a look to several other playing situations. Here is a batter stepping into the batter's box with runners standing at second, waiting to run toward third base. After the umpire judges the hit fair, when the ball bounces at least once into the ground before crossing the line drawn between second and third base, identified by an nylon string, the runner at second starts moving toward third base, helped by the sound of the paddles. At the same time, the batter runner goes for second base. Here is a sequence of different runners going towards third base with the help of the coach clapping paddles. The runner, filmed from behind, is going towards third base. The run is smooth, and the umpire calls him safe. Here you have the front view of the runner joining his hands at face levels to show him the way and orientate him toward third base. In this situation, you see the coaches strongly clapping paddles in order to help the runner to properly orientate towards third base and find the bag. In fact, neither words nor pushing or shoving are allowed to the sighted coach. Another batter steps into the batter's box in the attempt to push the runner in scoring positions at third base towards home plate. The runner can move only after the call fair is made by the umpire and must follow the pass from third base to home plate without any sound support. A run is awarded to the runner when he passes through an imaginary area across home plate with a tolerance of 2 meters to the right and 2 meters to the left. Here you can see several runners heading home following nice hits by the batters. Ariola Dedai runs towards home plate and the umpire calls safe, thus scoring a run. Massimiliano Tralli scores another run. These are some basic sequences related to the offensive phase, and while the runner rounds the base, he scores a run like in traditional baseball. Let us now continue to look at different examples of making outs by the defense before rapidly switching back to the offensive phase. How to make outs. Here are some examples. All the runners who have touched the base they were moving towards after the defensive assistants have touched second base, holding the ball firmly in his hand as a result of a throw accurately made by the fielders, are considered out. Generally, 1 out at a time is usually recorded during a play. However, with more runners moving on the bases, 2 or even 3 outs can be recorded on a single play. The batter who fails to hit the ball or hits it in foul territory during his regular 3 attempts at bat is considered out. The batter hitting a long flying ball that lands directly beyond the nylon string between second and third base is considered an out. As a matter of fact, for safety reasons related to the player's sake, the ball must be kept low. A batter hitting a good hit in fair territory that is directly retrieved by the sighted coach at second base, who must, however, keep his foot in solid contact with the base, is considered an out by rule. There are other rules and penalties during the offensive phase by which the runner is considered out. If the runner rounds incorrectly the beeping base, then the umpire at first base is required to make the call. When the runner coming from third base misses the imaginary 4-meter goal across home plate, is considered out. Here you see this girl coming from third base missing the goal. When any runner fails to touch the flat rubber base he's trying to reach, is called out. If runners are given any verbal support by coaches, they are called out by rule.
As a conclusion of this presentation, we hope that baseball played by the blind AIBXC will be soon adopted with our technical assistant by your sport association. During our long experience, we noted that visually impaired or blind athletes active in sports in general, but in particular those playing baseball, have developed a very fine sense of direction, sharpen their reading, and acquire courage and dynamism. In short, they enjoy a more autonomous life.